Oh boy, do I have a story today, and I will just about guarantee a lot of you probably didn't know it happened here. If you look on top of this fire department right here, I am in Columbia, Alabama today. Just a very, very small town, backwoods Alabama, right on the Georgia line. I mean, we're sitting right up next to Georgia. I have got a very interesting story that I want to tell you guys. Happened right here in this town a while back. It's gonna be a good one. I'm here in the small town of Columbia. You can see there is not a whole lot to this town. One thing I like that they do is, I guess they're very history oriented here. So out in front of all the buildings here, they have these plaques that tells you what was here many, many years ago. It doesn't tell you a date of when the buildings were here, but it does tell you what was here. Like this, and it looks like it's been redone now, but this was a hardware store. Over here across the street, before it became a fire department, it was Malone Motors. Upstairs it had a Masonic Lodge, and also upstairs it was the telephone switchboard for this town. Shortly thereafter that, it became a fire department, which is the facade that you see outside of it right now. Even though I am exploring the town, I'm going to show you this town of Columbia. I have a very unique story about one of the buildings here that I find it interesting, and I would like to think that you guys would find it interesting as well. Some old cash registers, an original pool ball rack from Windsor Pool Hall and Grocery, which was inside of this building. The Lewis store, little grocery store, it's set on this lot here, which is now empty, and it has this nice little park area. Right next to it here they have a giant bell. It says this was from the Columbia Elementary School, which was here in the town in 1903. The building was destroyed by a fire during the night in 1947. They made sure to put, so that's good, nobody was hurt because it happened at night. It says the bell was lost for many years. They found it in 2006 and placed it here as a memorial. Look at this. What was Dr. Yarborough's Sanitarium, located on the east side of North Main Street, approximately 1.5 blocks north of the traffic light. We'll go check that out for sure. Right here in this building, this was Carpenter's Grocery Store. This is obviously a church now, but it was an auto parts store. And look, the sign is still up there. Armstrong's Auto Parts. Just to give you a little history lesson, as I already said, Columbia sits right up against the Georgia line. It's the furthest point you can get to in the southeast corner of the state of Alabama. All right, this was a thriving steamboat port of call. This town of Columbia sits right on the Chattahoochee River, so it was a thriving steamboat port of call until 1889. In 1889, they built a railroad through the town, which took over, and the steamboat industry diminished until it basically became no more, which hurt this town big time. It managed to survive, which is why it's still surviving today, which is why it's still here, because of its farming community. Farmers kept the town of Columbia alive, and today it is actually Alabama's oldest continually operating municipal area. There are a few things that have been upgraded, like this is a hardware store, gas station, lunch stop, and feed store all in one. check out this TV station sign right here. Look at that. WDHN TV 18 ABC. Look how old it is. Man, that's incredible. Look here, I found another one. WTVY. At one point on the sign here at the bottom, you kind of make out where at one point it said Channel 8 on it. Oh man, how about this? What's cool about this? This was the old jail. It was erected in the early 1860s and is one of the last wooden jails still standing in Alabama. Oh, look. It still has the bars up on the windows. The metal bars is covered up with plexiglass now. Now we have made it to Columbia Manor. You can see the ticket booth out here in the front. That is because Columbia Manor, it's a former sanitarium, a former mental hospital that has been converted into a haunted attraction. They open it during Halloween time. So I never knew it was here. So I've never been to it, but I can guarantee this, when it opens, just a few months from now, it should open, I will be back to tour this. This place looks awesome. This location has been fully restored, but this was the Columbia Train Depot. This was it. 100 years ago, there would have been train tracks running right down the side here. There would have been people in and out of here loading up cargo or people. I want to tell you guys a story of an event that happened here in Columbia, Alabama that resonated all the way across the United States. I know some of you will be watching this from other countries. It may not be something that as popular as it is here in America. If you need more insight into it, you can always put it in the comments or something, but I want to tell this story because it is so interesting that I came all the way to this little town to tell it. All right, so Alcatraz Island, it was America's most secure prison. I mean, it sit out in the middle of San Francisco Bay. The only way to get to it and from it was by ship. It was America's most secure prison. They sent all kind of notorious gangsters there. Little do few people know that the notoriously infamous prison, over 2,500 miles away from here, it is connected to the small little town in Alabama named Columbia. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with The Great Escape. There was a Clint Eastwood movie, The Escape from Alcatraz, but there's one escape that ever got pulled off successfully from Alcatraz Island. And they say successfully only because they have never found the bodies, so they have no clue whether they actually made it or not. And I'm talking about Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. How does that correlate to little Columbia, Alabama? January the 17th of 1958 at 10 a.m. the Anglin brothers, there were actually three of them, John, Clarence, and Alfred Anglin, entered into the Bank of Columbia, which was right here, and they robbed it. They took $19,000 from right out of this building right here. All three brothers were caught 4 days later in Hamilton, Ohio. All three of the brothers wound up pleading guilty. Clarence and Alfred were both sentenced to 15 years. John was sentenced to 10 years in prison. They were all sent off to different penitentiaries across the country, most notably Atlanta, where John and Clarence attempted an escape. They were caught, but they attempted to escape. Because of the Atlanta escape attempt, John and Clarence were both sent to Alcatraz Island, 2,500 miles away, where they met Frank Morris, and then they all devised a plan to escape where they made dummies, cut a hole in the wall, they used rafts to get across the water. Again, their bodies were never found, so a lot of people believe that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers died in the Bay of San Francisco, but the Anglin's family swear that they have pictures of the Anglin brothers alive and well in like Colombia or something like that, still alive to this day. Are they still alive? Are they dead? I don't know if we'll ever get it, but it's still a very compelling story. On the day of the robbery, there were only 3 employees on duty inside of the bank here. The brothers came in only using toy guns. They did not want to harm anyone. They forced the employees to empty their tellers, and they emptied the safe, and then they bound all the employees' hands before making their getaway with $19,000. Now, who would have thought that 2 brothers robbing a bank in remote Alabama would have been the subject behind the Great Escape, behind one of the most infamous prison escapes in American history? Who would have thought? I sure didn't know it, and I've lived in Alabama my whole life. I didn't know it until just a couple of days ago. I personally felt like that was a very interesting story coming out of the small town here, and that's why I came to tell it today. But that is gonna end today's video. I really just wanted to come and tell that story. I want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to help support the channel, you can look down in the description box below. There's a few links down there you can check out. It's much appreciated. Thank you all. I'll see you again tomorrow, and I hope you have a great day.
I got the words, I got the tune. I've been rehearsing under the moon, but I got nobody to hear my song, so I'm humming to myself. I got the place, I got the time, I got a lot of love words that rhyme, but I got nobody to hear my song, so I'm humming to myself.